zany to the max.
What hasn't been said about the Animaniacs? It is one of the greatest cartoons that started in the early 90s and remains a fan favorite to this day. It was created by Tom Ruegger, and Steven Spielberg was the executive producer for the show. Yes, the same man who worked on E.T., Jurassic Park, and my personal favorite movie, Hook. Before Animaniacs, he was also a part of Tiny Toon Adventures, which was made by the same studio as Animaniacs, Amblin Entertainment. It was originally made for the Fox Kids block before it eventually moved over to the Kids WB. I remember in Canada when it aired on YTV, and then later on Teletoon Retro. The show is a very clever children's cartoon with some hidden adult innuendos that most kids wouldn't notice until they grew up. It was mostly slapstick comedy, similar to how the Looney Tunes did their cartoons, and a lot of episodes would add some musical moments to their stories. Not only were the Warner Brothers and Sister the stars of the show, tons of other characters got a lot of fan recognition, such as Mindy and Buttons, Slappy Squirrel, the Hip Hippos, the Goodfeathers, Rita and Runt, Chicken Boo, Kitty Kaboom, the Mime, and even Pinky and the Brain, who eventually got their own spin-off cartoon that saw some huge success as well. The Animaniacs had 99 episodes, plus a movie titled Wacko's Wish, which some fans consider to be the 100th episode of the series. Today, the series have proven to be popular enough that Hulu has a new reboot that recently came out on the 20th of November as of this video. Ever since the series premiered on September 13th, 1993, several pieces of merchandise have appeared almost everywhere, ranging from McDonald's Happy Meal toys, comic books, plush toys, t-shirts, hair combs, toothbrushes, Christmas ornaments, puzzles, and of course, video games. There have been tons of video games based on the Animaniacs. A majority of them have been on home consoles, but the ones that most people will probably remember are the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis games. Now, as of this video, these are the only two games I own that are based off the Animaniacs cartoon. I know there are other games out there, so let's check the internet to see why I don't own any of them. Okay, The Great Edgar Hunt on GameCube. Oh my good lord! Who would pay this much for a video game? So you see why I don't go collecting too much anymore? Anyways, let's get zany to the max with these awesome nostalgic games. Both the Super Nintendo and Genesis games were published and developed by Konami. It feels like a trend right now with me reviewing Konami games for some reason. The title screen begins with the iconic tune that every kid will remember and will probably be stuck in your head for a good while. It's time for Animaniacs, and we're zany to the max. So just sit back and relax, you'll laugh till you collapse, we're Animaniacs. So the story here is Pinky and the Brain are planning the same thing they do every night.
Try to take over the world.
Not surprising. This time, their plan is to earn enough money from a stolen movie script to
Take over the world.
Now we finally get to see the Warner Brothers
And the Warner sister.
They get a message from the CEO, Thaddeus Plotz, who entrusts the Warners with recovering the scripts. Question: why would he trust the Warners with anything? Doesn't he hate them? Just some food for thought. So the game begins, and already it looks as colorful and animated as the show itself. It's a platformer where you can control all the Warner siblings. You can also dash, grab, throw, and push objects, and if you have 2 or more characters, you can also do a stack to get to higher places. What's nice about this game is it is sort of 3D-ish, where you can move to the front, middle, and back of the stage. If you want to switch between characters, you use the R button, and the switch is instantaneous. No wait. It honestly doesn't matter, there is no difference between each character, but it does feel nice to play all the different Warners. There are other characters from the show in the game. They don't do too much, and they are mostly there for a cameo and can give you a good laugh. We have Dr. Scratch and Sniff, the CEO Thaddeus Plotz, Ralph the Guard, and Hello Nurse. Yes, her name is actually Hello Nurse. The intro stage is mostly a tutorial stage to teach you about your abilities without actually telling you, which is nice to not annoy you with text, like how some games are with unskippable tutorials. Show, don't tell. That is what I like. The main objective of the game is to clear all the stages and defeat Pinky in the Brain, with an optional objective to find all 24 scripts, and getting all of them will get you the best ending in the game. There are 4 main stages to play after you finish the intro stage: Fantasy, Aquatic, Adventure, and Sci-Fi. To select a stage, you have an overhead map and can move freely around on it, with each studio representing a stage in the game. You have the option of bumping into this weird thing a few times to get extra coins for the slot machine mechanic at the bottom of the screen. There are different coins to collect: silver and gold.
Silver and gold, silver and gold.
Silver gives you 1 coin, and gold gives you 10 coins. Getting 5 coins activates the slot machine, and every match gives you different rewards. Slappy Squirrel gives you 50 coins, Skippy gives you 20 coins, Chicken Boo doubles your coins, the CEO gets you an extra continue, Hello Nurse gives invincibility, and getting the Warner siblings recovers any Warners that were captured by Ralph. But with great rewards, there are unfortunately some negative ones. Ralph loses all your coins, Pinky loses 10 coins, and Brain loses half your coins. You can also manually stop each slot on the machine with the L button. The stages you play in are similar to most movies. The fantasy stage has some elements from Alice in Wonderland, Neverending Story, Jack and the Beanstalk, and even references the King Yakko episode, with the last part being similar to Anvillania. The aquatic stage references Jaws, and the last half seems to be similar to the HMS Yakko segment, with Captain Mel being the boss of that stage. Sci-fi has Alien, Terminator, and Star Wars, and Adventure has Tarzan, Indiana Jones, and a quick E.T. reference with the moon in the background. Throughout every stage, you collect the scripts like I mentioned, collect some coins, and also have to avoid Ralph the security guard. If Ralph captures any of the Warner siblings, you have to either rescue them from the water tower on the map, or get lucky on the slot machine. The water tower is where you ride a platform to the top, avoiding some birds and even Ralph again. You can grab a boomerang weapon from the bottom to make it a lot easier, since you can hit the birds with it, but not with Ralph. You have to time your jumps before he sprays you off the platform, making you have to attempt the water tower over again. Lots of these stages have some cool gimmicks. Like in the fantasy stage, you start by riding on broomsticks, dodging the obstacles, almost like that godforsaken speed bike stage for Battletoads. And near the end of the adventure stage, you ride a minecart, kinda like Donkey Kong Country, and in the aquatic stage, you ride on some rafts and barrels, dodging sharks. Lots of characters from the show make cameo appearances and can give you a good laugh. Rita and Runt and Mindy and Buttons appear during the adventure stage, and Hello Nurse and the Mime appear on the sci-fi stage. Even the Good Feathers make an appearance on the water tower. Twice. The music sounds just like the show, full of energy and fits right in. They even used the theme song in the intro stage, which is the perfect way to open up a game based on the Animaniacs. The music was composed by Tomoya Tomita, who was the composer for Mystical Ninja Goemon on Nintendo 64, Wario Land Shake It, Yoshi's Woolly World, and Parodius, which, by the way, is a very good shoot-'em-up game. Every stage has a musical theme that fits each and every one. The last stage, the editing room, is a boss rush, sort of like the Mega Man series. Once you take down all of the previous bosses, you finally get to take on Pinky and the Brain, who house a robot suit, similar to the one in the Win Big episode. You can easily avoid them by walking to the left, appearing to the right, which makes sense considering they are cartoon characters. When the boss hovers in the air, he drops one of 3 things: fire, cannonballs, and those weird looking enemies. The Brain eventually does a body slam, which causes some nuts and bolts to fall, and you can use those to throw at his body, causing damage. Throw enough at him and he will be defeated. If you collected all the scripts, the CEO will be proud, and we get to see the movie, which happens to be the Animaniacs movie, which he is not entirely happy about. I wonder if this was foreshadowing the Wacko's Wish movie. After the credits, we see Pinky and the Brain discuss tomorrow night, and you can guess what his plan is. And that was the Animaniacs on Super Nintendo. Wow, this was a really fun game, something that I would consider almost a hidden gem. Konami really knew how to handle American properties and turn them into video games. But what about the Genesis version? Well, let's see how this one compares. Well, as you can see, this one is totally different from the Super Nintendo version. The characters on screen are smaller, and possibly due to the limits of the Sega Genesis, the colors don't seem as bright as the Super Nintendo game. The story for this is not the same. The Warners want to open up a movie memorabilia shop, and they have to go to different studios and collect the props from each movie setting. Gameplay is vastly different. You technically control only one character, but each character has a different ability. Yakko can push and pull crates and has a paddleball weapon, which hurts only specific enemies. Wacko has a hammer that can break blocks and ignite fuses to explosives. Hey, they're cartoon characters, no need to question that. And Dot, because she is the cute one, uses kisses to manipulate specific obstacles and enemies. Switching between characters feels very sluggish and could ruin the flow of the game, especially if you need a specific character right away. Like, say if you need Yakko, but you are on Wacko, you need to switch twice, since the cycle needs to go past Dot to get to Yakko. There is no manual switching. Since the characters have different abilities, there are a few puzzles to solve in the game. The controls and movement feel a lot stiffer, although that might be due to how the Genesis controller was designed. There was only one pane the characters control on, not like the 3 different layers from the Super Nintendo version. One other difference is that when you die, you do not lose any of the Warners and have to rescue them. All of them share the same lives and health. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, there is a health bar in this game, shown by the Warner's facial expressions in the upper left. In the other game, you would die in one hit, but in this game, at least you have some more chances on a single life. There are 4 stages, just like the Super Nintendo game: a jungle stage, space stage, western, and horror. Another difference is that instead of coins, you collect stars, but the Genesis game does not have a slot machine mechanic. Instead, you can find a bonus roulette, which you can use the stars you collected in the stage to multiply them. The music for the Genesis version was done by Seiya Murai, who has also done music for the PC Engine version of Daytona Twinbee and the Poppin' Music series. The music is nice and all, but doesn't really show off blast processing of any kind, and in my opinion, neither does the entirety of the game. Looks like the Super Nintendo won again. The boss of the first 3 stages is Ralph, and the boss for the 4th is Dracula. What is this, Animaniacs or Castlevania? I guess the one improvement I can compliment on is that the password is 3 characters less than the Super Nintendo, and not a lot of different heads to pick from, which is nice and easy. A lot of the stages, just like the Super Nintendo game, have cameos of the other characters. The game is a lot more difficult than the other game, but it kind of makes up for it by having unlimited continues. The downside is when you continue, you start from the beginning of the entire stage all over again. After beating all 4 stages, you automatically go to the 5th stage to collect the Felix Award. This is one of the most difficult parts of the game, especially with some of the tricky platforming, and this one section where part of the stage behind you is collapsing, and you need to constantly switch characters to get by it. I have died so many times here just trying to switch to Wacko to press the switch at the last minute. If it wasn't for the wasted time of going past Dot, I would have had an easier time. And finally, after all that trouble, I finally collect the Felix Award, and the Warner Brothers
And the Warner sister.
get interrupted by the 2 mice, Pinky and the Brain. They steal the props we collected, and now we have to fight them in the last boss fight of the game. The strategy here is to use Dot to blow a kiss to Pinky to get him to drop an unlit bomb, and then get Yakko to push the bomb towards the suit, and then use Wacko to light the fuse of the bomb. Keep doing this and you will eventually get the pattern down. When the legs of the robot suit detach, the top portion will be motionless and will be slightly easier. The legs have a hitbox that can be avoided easily. A few more bomb explosions and you finally beat the boss and get back all that stuff you collected. In my opinion, the Super Nintendo game is still loads better. I enjoy the Genesis version for the difficulty, but the Super Nintendo one feels more like the cartoon than this one did. So, those are the 2 Animaniacs video games on both Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, and they are pretty decent for being cartoon licensed video games. Well, I hope everyone enjoys the new reboot of Animaniacs on Hulu. I hope I can enjoy it soon as it comes to a Canadian streaming service. Otherwise, arrgh! Thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and be sure to check out some more videos. Okay, love you, bye-bye! Why are you still here? The video's over. Go away.